Today we're diving into a story that spans the globe, about connection, value, and realizing what you've lost only after it's gone. We're talking about 15 countries that regret kicking out Filipinos and now want them back. This isn't just about politics or economics, it's about people and the underestimated impact of Filipino workers worldwide. From building cities to caring for the sick, their contributions are woven into the fabric of so many societies. We'll explore why these nations pushed Filipinos away and why they're now urgently welcoming them back. Let's get into it. The United States and the Philippines share a long, complicated history. Early Filipino workers built the West Coast's agriculture but faced discrimination and harsh immigration laws. Today, the U.S. faces shortages and is recruiting Filipino nurses and professionals. Filipinos are now essential in healthcare, IT, engineering, and education. It's a full-circle moment. America now values what it once pushed away. In the 1970s, Saudi Arabia's oil boom sparked huge demand for labor. Filipinos became essential in construction, healthcare, and service industries. But Saudization policies tried to replace them with locals, creating a skills gap. Now, mega projects like NEOM are bringing Filipinos back, with new visa pathways for skilled workers. The kingdom has realized their value. Filipino talent is once again in demand. The UK's NHS once relied heavily on Filipino nurses known for their skill and compassion, but tighter immigration policies in the 2000s choked off this talent pipeline, worsening nursing shortages and straining the healthcare system. Brexit and the pandemic exposed just how vulnerable the NHS had become. Now, the UK is actively recruiting Filipino nurses again, streamlining visas and offering relocation packages. The government admits its previous policies were a critical error. Filipino nurses are no longer just workers, they're a lifeline for the NHS. Sometimes regret is the best teacher. Japan, long closed to immigration, faced a demographic crisis, a rapidly aging, shrinking population. Severe labor shortages, especially in elderly care, forced Japan to rethink its stance. In 2019, Japan introduced the Specified Skilled Worker Visa, targeting Filipino caregivers and skilled workers. The regret isn't about expulsion, but decades of lost opportunity. Now Japan is actively recruiting Filipinos, recognizing their technical skills and deep respect for the elderly. Filipinos are seen as essential partners in securing Japan's future. Sometimes necessity breaks down even the strongest walls. Canada's points-based system favored high-skilled immigrants, often overlooking essential workers like Filipino caregivers. Long processing times and family separation created emotional strain, and at times the door was effectively shut. Facing labor shortages, Canada revamped its programs, prioritizing family reunification and creating new pathways for Filipinos. Provincial programs now actively target Filipino workers for in-demand jobs. Canada's regret? Realizing their old system was too rigid, missing out on the full spectrum of Filipino contributions. Now, they're correcting course, valuing people over points. The Filipino community is thriving, and Canada knows it. Australia's immigration history was shaped by the White Australia policy, limiting Asian migration for decades. Filipinos faced tough barriers and red tape, discouraging many from even trying. But economic growth and labor shortages forced a rethink. Mining, construction, and healthcare needed workers. Australia expanded its skilled migration program, making the Philippines a top source country. Filipino engineers, nurses, and caregivers are now in high demand. Australia's regret realizing past hesitancy held its economy back. Now the partnership is vital for future prosperity. Italy's Filipino community began in legal limbo, working as caregivers and domestic helpers, often without documentation. Periods of regularization were followed by crackdowns, creating constant uncertainty. Yet Filipinos became essential, caring for Italy's children and elderly, enabling Italian families to thrive. With one of Europe's oldest populations, Italy now faces a caregiver crisis. The government is finally recognizing the need for stable, legal pathways for Filipino workers. Italy's regret failing to properly acknowledge and integrate a community holding society together. Now they want to formalize what was once left in the shadows. Singapore's success relies on global talent, with Filipinos excelling in finance tech and as domestic workers. In the 2010s, public pressure led to tighter rules and higher barriers for foreign workers, including Filipinos. Businesses soon struggled to find the skills they needed, and families felt the loss of trusted helpers. The government realized restrictive policies threatened economic dynamism. Now, Singapore is quietly easing requirements, actively seeking high-skilled Filipino talent. The lesson: you can't have global competitiveness without global talent. Regret has led to a renewed embrace. The UAE's modern identity was built with the help of Filipino workers, from airlines to hospitals to skyscrapers. Emiratization policies and economic downturns led to layoffs and uncertainty, pushing many Filipinos out. But as the UAE diversifies into tech, tourism, and healthcare, the need for Filipino talent is greater than ever. The regret: realizing that letting go of experienced, loyal workers was short-sighted. Now, recruitment is back in full force. Filipinos are essential to the UAE's ambitions. The partnership is non-negotiable for world-class status. Sometimes you only appreciate what you had when it's gone. Kuwait's relationship with Filipino workers has been turbulent, marked by abuse scandals, deployment bans, and diplomatic standoffs. Each ban created chaos, Kuwaiti families scrambled, and the domestic labor market suffered. The kicking out was mutual. The Philippines banned deployment for safety. Kuwait retaliated with visa suspensions. This forced Kuwait to confront the need for labor reform and better protections. Now, after each crisis, Kuwait negotiates to improve conditions and bring Filipinos back. The regret is clear: they can't function without Filipino workers, especially in homes. Real change is happening, because necessity demands it. In Hong Kong, Filipina domestic helpers, affectionately called aunties, are the backbone of family life. Yet strict live-in rules and a ban on permanent residency keep them in a state of uncertainty. The pandemic exposed their vulnerability, leaving many homeless. Public outcry forced Hong Kong to confront its reliance on a workforce denied basic security. Dignity and respect are overdue. South Korea long overlooked Filipino workers, favoring ethnic Koreans and Westerners, but English fever and a rapidly aging population changed everything. Filipino English teachers became highly sought after for their skills and affordability. Now, as Korea faces a caregiver shortage, it's looking to the Philippines for solutions. The regret: realizing too late that their own workforce can't meet new demands. Filipinos are now valued for both language and care. Sometimes the best partners are the ones you almost missed. New Zealand's immigration once favored Commonwealth countries, making it tough for Filipinos to break in. Policy shifts and bureaucratic hurdles left many in limbo, feeling unwelcome. But worker shortages in construction, healthcare, and agriculture forced a major U-turn. Now, New Zealand is fast-tracking skilled migrants, especially from the Philippines. Filipino workers are rebuilding cities and caring for people. The regret: realizing restrictive policies were a self-inflicted wound. Now, Filipinos are seen as essential to the nation's future. In Israel, Filipinos have long cared for the elderly and disabled, often facing harsh rules and uncertainty. Tied to single employers, family life was banned, creating fear. But Israeli families saw their dedication and began fighting for their right to stay. Now reforms are slowly improving lives. Change is coming because it must. Qatar's World Cup construction boom relied heavily on Filipino workers. Labor abuses and the kafala system led to a deployment ban from the Philippines, threatening Qatar's ambitions. International pressure and practical need forced Qatar to reform, dismantling kafala, introducing a minimum wage, and improving worker rights. The regret: realizing exploitative practices threatened not just human rights but national goals. After reforms, Filipino workers returned, and Qatar continues to need their skills for its future plans. The lesson: dignity and rights are essential to attract the talent you need. Sometimes progress is born from necessity. Across these 15 stories, a pattern emerges: need, restriction, regret, and a renewed welcome. Filipinos don't just fill jobs, they elevate industries and become integral to communities. Their absence creates a void that's felt everywhere, from hospitals to homes. Countries are now correcting past mistakes, recognizing the immense human value they lost. The Filipino spirit is irreplaceable on the world stage. People are always a country's greatest asset. Thanks for watching. Let's keep this conversation going.